Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm for Classic and welcome to BenchART. So for today what I do have in it is Crash Bandicoot 4, a game developed by Toys for Bob, Beanox and Archsuit Labs. So a ton of developers that were responsible for this port. This game is using Unreal Engine 4, and today I decided to take the test on the GT 740M, which is equal to a GT 920M. So my suggestion is for you to go with 720p minimum settings. But unfortunately that isn't really enough, so you need to tweak a little bit the game. So for that I need you to go to your config files, which is inside your users folder. So you just go to your local disk drive, users, your username, search for a folder which should be hidden called AppData, search for local Crash Bandicoot 4, saved, config, WindowsNoEditor. So you will find there the config files of the game. You will find a file there called GameUserSettings.ini, and the resolution scaling should be set to 100, but you can select whatever you want. So my recommendation is to select something above 50. In my case, 75, it was great. It was a good mixture between performance and quality, but if you feel that you need more performance or you prefer better graphics, you tune it the way that you want. So the more close to 100, the better quality. The more close to the 50, the worse quality. So looking to the requirements over here, this game requires a GTX 660 or an AMD Radeon HD 7950, which is typical. It's the typical requirements of Unreal Engine 4. So with the default minimum settings, without tweaking, my experience was overall lower than 30 frames per second. So I can't really recommend you to play with the game without tweaking. And using this tweak and applying a resolution scaling of 75, there was a big difference, because the game now it is pretty much above 30 frames per second all the time, at least on the first two levels that I did try. And as you can see, even with the recording, I'm having about 40 frames per second, above 30s. So yeah, it feels playable. I'm not sure if all the levels will be as playable as this, but if you find any trouble, you can decrease even more the resolution scaling if you need. But for now, 30 frames per second, it is really possible. I would say that this type of games to be perfect would need 60 frames per second, but even PS4 and Xbox One and Switch does run this game at 30 frames per second. Only the new consoles, I mean the PS5 and the new Xbox series, are the only consoles that can run this game at 60 frames per second. So yeah, if they manage to play like this at 30, I think we managed to do so if we are good enough for that. Alright, so that's pretty much all about the performance. So you need to tweak a little bit the resolution scaling in order for you to get an acceptable performance above 30. But even with this decrease in resolution scaling and even playing the game at minimum settings, I do think that the game looks pretty good. Alright, I also have a GTX 1650 Super where I play maximum settings, and honestly, if this is the minimum, this isn't really that bad. So I think it's awesome if you can play the game like this, because 30 frames per second, it is not for all the people out there. But if you manage to play like this, which I know that for all the people that have this graphic card can do so, the graphics quality are very, very good. Now about the game itself, what can I say? Crash Bandicoot 4 does everything right, alright? It managed to bring the feeling of the classics, you know. When you develop a new game that have an extremely big legacy, you know, Crash Bandicoot 1, 2 and 3 are old games. So not all the developers can bring a new game to 2020 or 2021 and can transform it in something good and at the same time without hurting what it was built in the past. But Crash Bandicoot 4 does it very well. So you have in here a new game that feels like an old one, but in a good way. You see, that's the good thing about the game. Now the bad parts for me, in my opinion, it is really the two things. So one of the things is that the game it is not available on Steam. It's a Battle.net exclusive. So I know that a lot of people will be pissed off with this, and yeah, it's a little bit complicated because most of us prefer to play on Steam, And this is an issue because yeah, we know that Epic Store is growing, and not all the people like Epic Store, but we have a growing library too in Epic Store. So we are kind of okay, it's another game for Epic Store, but no, this is for Battle.net, which is a place that not all the people have games in there. All right, it's a little bit bad on that regard. And the second one, which I think it is the worst one in my opinion, it's the fact that the game requires you to be online always. So this is a single player game that you need to be always online in order to play. This is their anti-piracy methods to prevent people from cracking their game. Now the bad thing is that after day one, this game it is out there, all right, for free on the piracy trackers and everything. So that really pisses me off, because if you brought the game, if you spend your own money into the game, and for some reason you have a kind of harsh or bad connectivity to the internet, this will be really bad, because the game requires you to be online and you are suffering because of that. While the people that didn't pay anything, all right, and go to those websites and download illegally the game, well, they can enjoy the game offline. That's something that you pay, you can't do. So that's pretty bad. I really hope that the developers revert this thing, because it doesn't make any sense for people that didn't pay to have this privilege, while you that paid, you are having these issues, right? It doesn't make sense to me. So let's hope they revert this kind of stuff. Anyway, the game it is out there anyway. So yeah, they should do it. But apart from that, apart from those two issues, the Battle.net and the always online DRM, I don't have anything against the game. The game, it is awesome. It is well priced. It is $39.99, so it's not super expensive, all right? It's not that cheap too, but it's not super expensive. So they are not asking for $59.99 for the game. No, they are just charging you $39.99. It is not a full recent game, because it was released initially for the PS4 and Xbox One. So it's a game that it was released last year, all right? But it is still not old, and it is only now available for the PS5 and the Xbox Series and the PC and also the Switch. So it is new for the PC, but it is not old even in the entire consoles out there, all right? So I think the price, it is good. It's just the Battle.net and the always online DRM that completely breaks the stuff for me. All right. So guys, I think that's all that I want to talk about Crash Bandicoot 4. I mean, it's 4. I'm super impressive with the performance that I did got in this. I wasn't really expecting that the GT 740M or the GT 920M could handle the game, but they can, as you can see. So I'm very happy with that. So I really hope you are too. And I really hope you should consider to buy the game, especially if they remove this crappy DRM that these guys have. So that's all, guys. Thank you a lot for watching, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.